everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. So, alright, I'm going to be doing the the third and last part of this, what I've been doing here, trying to turn the whole thing with at least the first released Life is Strange game into a horror type storyline. And yes, I know I made some serious alterations when it comes to continuity, and a pretty big one at that. So I'm just be mostly focusing on the first release one with the equal life the strange before the storm thrown into the mix. Granted, if I wanted to keep this in all in one movie, granted if it was done in that way, it would probably be pretty damn long. If I wanted to like a long ass movie, and cranky. If I really want to go in that direction. All right, as I've said in my previous video, well, one of my previous videos, if I've turned this into an animated movie, which would have been nice actually, but I know there's going to be people out there that's going to be all mad and everything because, oh, it's going to woke, you be inclusive. And that's because people will just assume that this kind of stuff will be automatically bad, which of course is a lie. But then there's movies like Saving Christmas, Monsters the Hands of Fate, Batman Returns, the bastard version of Godzilla King of Monsters, Catwoman, along with movies like The One That Shall Not Be Named, and yes, of course, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice. And those movies are some of the absolute worst films I've ever reviewed on this channel. Plus a few more, quite obviously, but point being, the film's quality is not just going to be based on upon the character's sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever else. It depends on the execution. I mean, the premise is equally as important. I know a lot of people will argue that the execution is more important than the premise. But in my honest, humble opinion, you need a good premise and a good execution. I mean, I can kind of see what they mean if people want to put up the argument. I'm just saying, though. But anyway, for further ado, let's continue. I mean, seriously, Monos is such a fuck up of a movie. It's so incompetently made. It's one of these movies that does a lot of stuff wrong, if not the vast majority. This should be inspirational because, well, at least I can come up with something halfway decent. And for the foreseeable future, it may not even happen because of what happened with the principal pretty much taking over the school and pretty much turning this into like a dictatorship. And assuming if everyone else survives, and I mean if, yeah, the thing is that Max is going to have some trauma she had to deal with, of course, some shell shock, I guess, and whatnot. And that's obviously the whole idea with she would have these seizures every time she goes back in the past and changes it quite clearly. But to make this even more suspenseful, more stressful, is that she can only do that with a certain number of times. Because if she keeps doing it too many times too often, so her brain will pretty much turn to mush if it keeps happening too often, too many times. It just adds too much. So there's only a limited amount of times she can do it in a short span of time. So yes, of course, knowing this doesn't help the cause whatsoever. So she does have to think about her own future and whatnot. And pretty much going off while I left off from the previous video, the whole thing with the photo gallery. So there was that. I mean, she realizes one thing she could do is that maybe she could go probably go back in time to where she was and hopefully fix everything. She's not even sure if this could actually work. And she could probably try to go back at least far enough to prevent the principal from taking over the school, like a strong dictatorship kind of thing. And yeah, of course, the principal is going to have all these strong influences, quite obviously, kind of like a corrupted spirit kind of a thing with him, quite obviously. And she just go far back enough. And let's say that she does do that in hopes that she do that. And okay, she goes back and far back to a specific moment. Literally right before. She's on the whole seizure thing, of course. All right, folks. I just want to point out a few things real quick. Yeah, I know the video just started and I'm already delaying it. Ugh. Yeah, but just blame YouTube in some ways because just copyright claims all over the fucking place when it comes to this video. Just adds to the frustration. when it comes to this kind of thing. I mean, editing these videos already time consuming as it is, especially the really lengthy videos. It's just annoying as all hell. It's really frustrating. Yeah, even though a lot of the clips, okay, all the clips I'm using here are under fair use, but I'm getting copyright claims up the ass, up the yin yang, like there was no fucking tomorrow. And it would just cause me to just delay this even further. Of course. I've been meaning to upload this video for almost a week now, since I've uploaded the first part of this about either 5 to 6 days ago, something like that. The point being, it's almost been a week since I've uploaded the first part of this. Yes, this was originally intended just to be one video, but I realized it was going to be way too lengthy, so I just had to spread this into 3 parts because of that. There was like a whole lot of how to go through to be as specific as I could. I mean, maybe there's some areas here and there I could have explored a bit more, but I'm trying to give you at least a decent amount of detail so to get what I'm trying to say here. But of course, copyright claims, YouTube being YouTube as usual, of course. And also, just real quick, Alphys is having a lot of issues on his end because he's doing a lot of gameplay throughs on his channel. And one of the Star Wars Unleashed games that he played has a lot of muted parts. Yeah, muted parts in his for the same reason because YouTube is being a bunch of assholes. I mean, it's already taking a long time to finish this video as it is. I kind of want to just be done with it already, but anyway, of course, thanks for watching ahead of time. I really do appreciate it. Well, anyway, let's just get on with the show. Because for one, I'm kind of viewing this as a writing practice to some extent, I guess. And I know some people out there make, I guess, consider this fan fiction, I guess. I mean, to some respect, I suppose. Whatever. I just wanted to do this as a way to talk about horror movies and Life is Strange. That was kind of the whole idea to begin with. Like a video essay to some extent, maybe, I guess. But that was kind of the whole idea here to begin with. That's kind of what inspired this entire thing. Life is Strange and horror. Horror and Life is Strange. Horror and Life is Strange. It kind of like the whole thing to begin with. And a video essay, kind of, I guess. Alright, whatever. Let's get this over with, I guess. Because of that, who knows is bleeding. That can still be a thing, quite clearly. Yes, quite clearly, with this information, she does know what the one photo teacher, the one guy, Mr. Jefferson, yes, she knows what she's about to do with the dark room. And yes, obviously, she knows what the principal has. The principal could have his own dark room as well. So we the two dark rooms, be two of them. But she pretty much have the teacher be expelled and exposed, quite obviously. And yeah, that gets erased, so to speak. And okay, from this point forward, she thinks that this could be fixed. Doesn't mean everything could stay fixed. In this case, Mr. Jefferson gets arrested, and she thinks she had. Oh yeah, the cat isn't bad. The principal gets arrested and whatnot. Okay, but she thinks that she's gonna go to the whole art gallery thing when it comes to her photos, because that's been erased quite clearly. So that future doesn't happen, or her present, I should say. Unfortunately, however, the thing is that she ends up in a dark room anyway, regardless, because this part of her story that's we call it inevitable. Because the Mr. Jefferson and the principal, let's just say they have strong connections. I'm pretty much paid the police off to not bother them. Yes, quite clearly, Max, we still suffer some memory loss because he keeps doing this, keeps rewinding everything. It just compounds the problem even further. And then, top of all that, yes, I could still have it where the characters, Mr. Jefferson and the principal individual, they still don't like each other, but somehow, let's just say that these two characters still have a lot of influences. They still have. Yes, I realize that the dark web, the deep web, whatever you call it, was a big topic for YouTube for quite a while. Okay, let's apply that here. We all know it can be pretty scary and really spooky. And let's add that here because maybe that they got some of the stuff, some of the illegal stuff. go quite clearly. A lot of stuff, a lot of the Moors must go, let their humanity must go, but they got a lot of stuff of quite here. It's quite a lot going on in this in my version, which I realized, so it's quite a bit to unpack here. Okay, so before anyone says anything, yes, I've looked into it. Quite obviously, I'm not going to list off every single animated movie here. Okay, just throwing it out there. I'm just going to give some examples of what I'm talking about, so you can get the bigger picture of what I'm referring to. Okay, just throwing it out there. So yes, I looked up what we consider to be the lengthiest animated movie, or should I say anime. There are plenty of others, but still, maybe for One Piece, there's this one, but obviously, yeah, it's quite lengthy there. Then for something more Western, of course, there's that Lord of the Rings movie that came out quite a while ago, and even go into more anime if you want. Yeah, there was this one as well, this Princess movie. And not only that one, I also found this one as well, trilogy of anime movies. So that's three right there. But okay, if you want something for, I guess, a bit more Western, of course, from over here in the United States, I can give you a few of those as well. Well, a few more, I mean. Tango runs for about 100 minutes, so that's kind of long. And then for the Force Frozen film, the extended version, anyway, runs for like an hour and 42 minutes, whereas the extended version for the second one runs for like a tad longer. So I'm over here thinking, okay, like I said before, earlier, I would have had an animated movie that would combine before the storm and Life is Strange. Let's have that in one animated movie. If I wanted to do it in this way, having some kind of medium, just think of it as an experimentation, if anything, quite clearly. But I just want to throw it out there to give you my 2 cents what I would have aimed for. But anyway, going back to this whole thing, of course, the thing is that can you just get herself out of here and whatnot? I guess this means that Nathan isn't arrested and whatnot. This doesn't stop the something bad happening to him. Like, of course, yes, obviously something can still happen bad to him quite clearly. It's just that oh, they didn't happen. That was erased. A bit more specific. It could have been right before Nathan gets arrested. Like I said earlier in this video series I've been doing with these characters, and it could be literally right before even the teacher gets arrested as well. Literally right before, quite clearly. If I recall correctly, in Life is Strange 2, those the whole these cropped off so one or two of them. I'm gonna play that here because maybe that's how Nathan doesn't get arrested just yet, I guess. And these two characters, Nathan and of course Max, these two keep going at each other because they don't like each other because they find each other to be complete nuisance, quite clearly. And yes, Nathan could be in on it with at least with Mr. Jefferson anyway. Like they're the best buddies, at least temporarily anyway. So at this point, everything still is going haywire, and she's still pretty much in panic mode. Pretty much like, oh Christ, what do I do now? I'm still in deep shit. Anyway, so in Life is Strange for the Storm, since I keep bringing this game up, we realized that let's just say since Rachel is supposed to be the most popular girl in school, let's just say her inner life at home isn't exactly proper. Let's put it that way. Chloe learns that her father, Rachel's father, I mean, is supposed to be this district attorney or something like that, and he's supposed to be a corrupted individual. And since in this timeline Rachel has been pretty much saved, and her family moved in this area and whatnot. And let's just say, due to incompetency, Mr. Jefferson and yes, of course, Nathan were have not been arrested again, at least not yet. So this just the prolongs the problem here to be fixed. Yes, which is something that Max is fully aware about. This just makes things even more complicated for her to fix. Oh boy, yes, even though that is still going on, this would still happen. Yes, the principal would have still taken over the school, as I said, in the other timeline. Even though, granted, Max is just rewriting history here, not making an alternate timeline, even getting specifics here. But anyway, yes, this still would have been a thing, and Max or anybody else that lines up with her. And it doesn't necessarily have to be her friends, just anybody who wants to team up with Max, or at least sympathize with Max in any shape or form, would have been doomed. And it just seemed like no matter what she does, Max, I mean, this would have occurred anyway, as fate would have it. Because this just seems rather gloomy. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a horror movie type of thing anyway. So it's just like this again goes to the whole stress thing, and anybody that goes against the principle would have been, of course, killed off. And of course, the principal would have found a way to do this, I guess, undercover. He would have had his own men help him out in some kind of Warren still be a part of this timeline. You know, he may come off a creep. But anyway, the whole bit where he fights Nathan, that still would have occurred. He's getting all pumped up. He's all could find out about this because, well, she maybe overheard it because the radio's on, because of Mr. Jefferson has it on to just keep the updates on. But maybe if not that, maybe he himself could mention this. Oh boy. But yes, in this reality, yes, these two characters would still be a couple, and yes, they would still be alive. They'd be texting random students from the school to pretty much beat it because they have to find a hideout, and they're trying to warn a bunch of people. And yes, they would have at least saved some of the students. Not maybe not every student, obviously, but at least some students would have been saved anyway, thankfully. But not only that, I was also thinking, yes, even Kate would still survive. Kate and Max would still be a couple in this timeline. They'd still be a couple, and she'd be all stressed out, texting Rachel and Chloe, where's her girlfriend out? Like, where is she? They're trying to figure out what's going on as well because they're still in the dark, so to speak, with some details. So some information was still gonna be kind of vague. But yes, she's gonna be around. I don't want the character to die by any means. But anyway, yes, Max should be thinking about this, all this, what's going on. She's already stressing out to the maximum. Like, holy shit is going on. And the whole thing with drugs, the whole thing with drugs is going to be a thing here. Unfortunately for Max, and this is just horrifying in a lot of ways when you think about it. Yeah, this going on simultaneously with the shooting the students and whatnot. Maybe Mr. Jefferson has a walkie-talkie on in the background somewhere, and it's on blast as loud as possible. So Max is able to hear the students screaming for their lives, and yes, it's just horrifying. So hearing the screams and terror. I do realize this entire bit just looks pretty grim, and that's kind of the point when you think about it. Yeah, just unfortunately, these characters are just in deep shit. In other words, everyone is all just keeps worsening the situation. Because, like I said before, when it comes to horror films, there's always somebody or something that's out to get you, wants to kill you, and just murder you or whatever. That seems to be a common thing when it comes to horror movies when you think about it, and this will apply here when you think about it. So there's that. As I said in my previous, I guess, videos of this series of videos we've been doing, Kate and Max would definitely interact a hell of a lot more, and that's partly because I feel like this was a definitely great missed opportunity given Kate's situation. So again, I'm kind of just criticizing the writing here because a lot of the students seem to be picking on Kate because she's like one of the most vulnerable characters in the game itself. And they would pick on her, they'll throw stuff out like the paper ball they just saw. I mean, yes, all they can still be in this version, of course, in my version of events, if this was turned into a horror movie, and pretty much have okay, I know this would pretty much make Max basically like a guard dog, so to speak, watching over Kate like a hawk. Which I basically I get that. I know how that sounds like from the outside looking in. But granted, just make her be really determined and just make sure that you can see why these two characters will get along. Because Max would set aside the fact that she's depressed and all that, and she would never judge Max for feeling like that, quite clearly. And maybe she never would get out of that depression. Maybe she never will. But Max doesn't judge her anyway, regardless. And yes, people who like her will have to take medication because of depression. I know it would vary from individual from individual when it comes to depression. I know, it varies quite clearly. I know there's a difference between being sad and it's being flat out depression. There's also acute depression, and there's also chronic depression. I know it varies. I know there's different merits of this kind of a thing, which, yes, I get that and whatnot. And yes, you could actually make that be a part of the story quite clearly. And going to the whole thing with stress, since I made that be a part of the thing here in the story, stress is like a major factor with Max. Like I was saying, it could manifest to some kind of like ghost. It doesn't have to be ghost, but some kind of like supernatural force or whatever, and that can be a factor still on it because you have to make it be consistent with the themes of the story. They can still be a thing. I just want these two characters to be interacting with each other a whole lot more. And yes, I do wish that the game itself could have gone more into with these two characters in terms of they're supposed to be best friends anyway, and I kind of wish the game could have gone more to that. Okay, maybe that's just me nitpicking it. I get that. And when it comes to the whole depression bit, I kind of wish they could have gone more into that too because it varies from people, from individuals. And Max could tell her that she's not trying to be a replacement for a therapist or anything. And if she chooses to, they can seek a therapist and to go together if she chooses to do as a couple. Do some kind of activity as a couple, even though there's something like this could be something major, which technically it is. I think the term I'm looking for is a couples therapy, if I record that right. It may not be for Max necessarily, but she's trying to be there just to be some kind of emotional support. There's like so many ways in which they could have done this kind of a thing. Again, my biggest complaint for the Life is Strange, at least the first game, and maybe some of the other games as well, to some extent, to various extents anyway. But one of my biggest complaints for Life is Strange, the first one, the first one that was released, is the writing. Some of the writing is kind of bad, if you ask me. I mean, there's some good bits. Don't get me wrong. There's some really good bits throughout the entire thing. Don't get me wrong. But anyway, I'm just saying, if I've done this the way I would do, I would have definitely have these two characters interact a lot more and whatnot to come on to make sure that the relationship feel more genuine, and you do have to make it realistic and yes, make it believable. Make sure there's a chemistry kind of a thing going there quite clearly, because when it comes to writing romance, there has to be a chemistry. Yes, I realize like that's like the most obvious thing ever. Like no kidding, duh. But however, you'd be thinking that's the most obvious thing ever. But unfortunately, you'd be surprised how many people had missed the mark in terms of that. Ugh. Even though I don't like romance stuff, I'm just putting it out there. I'm just saying. Just putting it out there, folks. But anyway, I mean, yes, eventually it's going to go that whole moment to where Max will have to prevent her from committing suicide. And yes, depending on what you say, you would actually save her. They can still play out here. And there's a reason I'm saying this, folks. And I want this to have like a kind of like callback later on in the story. But anyway, my point being, I do realize this is an extremely touchy subject. This has to be touched upon with merit, with sensitivity, with compassion. We really want to write this as a script, as a part of the script. I mean, you have to be really, really careful when it comes to this kind of thing. It's difficult to write this kind of stuff, which I realize. Yes, writing about this subject matter can be incredibly challenging and emotionally taxing. If you're working on a story that explores these themes, it is very, very, very important to approach these themes with sensitivity and care, especially when it comes to portraying this kind of thing. Portray characters with empathy and understanding. Avoid using stereotypes or trivialized language like "oh, get over it," "oh, people have it worse than you," blah blah blah. Don't do that. Then include hope and support. While depicting such struggles, consider balancing the nature with elements of hope, recovery, maybe something with support systems that can inspire resistance quite clearly. I mean, yes, also do some kind of research thoroughly, understand the complexities of depression and suicidal thoughts to portray them authentically and, yes, respectfully. Also, seek support. If you're personally affected by these topics, don't hesitate to seek out to reach out to like some kind of mental professional professionals if you have to, or some trusted individual for support if he or she knows something they can help you out with. Use content warnings. Be mindful that of your audience. I guess in this case, my audience. Consider including content warnings if story contains such sensitive material. And yes, quite clearly, for rewind power, just like in the game, will suddenly just spaz out. Again, if I have to criticize the game for anything, it's something like this. Why did this have to happen? It's like all of a sudden. And to my knowledge, to my recollection, I remember this was like the first and only time that Max's rewind power ability suddenly spazzed out. Like it doesn't work anymore, at least temporarily anyway. Why did this happen? I mean, I get it. Yes, I realize this is an attempt to create some kind of suspense. Try to make it suspenseful. I get that. Okay, I get that. That was the idea and whatnot. But it just feels a little contrived. Is what I'm saying. It just feels like they're just doing it just to do it without making it feel more authentically. I mean, I get the idea to save Kate, which is fine. You can still keep that. So yes, I do want this to happen in my version. Again, it's just some of the writing needs some work here, folks. It just needs some serious work. But anyway, I still want to have this happen because I want to have some kind of payoff towards the end of the thing. Which yes, I'm getting to it, folks. I know it feels like I'm dragging this on and on to explain some specific moments of the story. I know it feels like it's dragging out. I realize that. So, all right. Just like the main character in the Butterfly Effect, the Anson Kutcher one, like how he would have these seizures and whatnot each time he goes back in time. This kind of thing could actually happen to Max, and you can only do the whole rewind power thing only for a limited amount of times within a short span of time. And, and this part of the story, I guess, I would insert yes, Air Force can be part of the story. And yes, I know this comes all of a sudden, but maybe from Max's point of view, this does come off like random, even though this character has always been around since the get go because of her memory loss. This, of course, get in the way of her remembering stuff because of the whole seizure thing. It kind of fucks up her brain a little bit and whatnot. Yes, he can be an in home nurse kind of a thing going on there. He can also be a security guard, a well armed security guard, but for the school from Academy Bay. But he went rogue after the principal character pretty much took over. So he was also hired to be at the school and keep guard, but again he went rogue because of what the principal had been doing. And so his mission is pretty much to protect Max and Kate. So both these characters could have protectors. And I mean, of course, yes, he still has to save their friends, quite clearly. He still has to save their friends, quite. But just trying to give him more of a backstory in this, quite clearly, he knows Max and Kate for quite often because let's just say he took care of them. He could have been bothering the nurses or something. But anyway, I'm still want to maintain the horror aspect of this. The horror aspect can still be attached to this kind of thing, quite clearly. Yeah, they're going to be still there with some action, quite clearly. That can still be a part of the story. Basically, what it comes down to, I'm just going to explain why, at least in my version, why Max's powers would just go haywire from time to time. Maybe she uses it too often. You can still use it indefinite number of times, but only in certain bursts, I guess you can say, and just not too much too frequently. So I can't do it for too often. Oh, otherwise her brain would turn to mush if she do that too frequently, quite clearly. Again, I'm just trying to explain away why her power just goes wackadoodle over here. And yes, quite clearly, Kate would get saved. I'm trying to explain where this Air Force character came out all of a sudden and whatnot. And yeah, and quite clearly, it's going to still keep the whole bit where, yes, I realize that it's going to be an emotional scene to be hugging each other and whatnot. But then it goes to the one scene. Basically, just recapping here, folks. That's all I'm doing here. Just want to recap quite a bit, just to explain away certain things quite clearly. But to make the principal more of a douchebag, you have his school to take the credit for saving Kate, even though he technically didn't do nothing. And you can say it's part of his fault in a lot of ways because he could have, he should have kept close to what was going on. I mean, this kind of happened in the game anyway because the security was kind of shit. Because how is that Kate would all the way up there with nobody stopping her before Max came along? I mean, this kind of happened in the game anyway. So again, I'm not trying to rewrite the entire game, just certain aspects of the game, just just certain details. Quite obviously, you change one thing, you change everything. Kind of like what the whole Butterfly Effect movie I just mentioned a moment ago, whatever the tagline was. So I guess you can say this kind of happens here. You change one thing, you change everything quite a bit. And this whole dialogue here, it could be relatively the same thing, more or less, quite clearly. Just trying to make the principal way more of a douchebag, way more of an asshole than he already is. I mean, he's already kind of a prick. Same thing with Nathan, of course, and Jefferson. I mean, these characters are already a piece of shit anyway. But I'm just put more emphasis on that because again, I'm trying to do a horror movie version of this kind of thing. I'm just doing like a spooky, scary movie kind of thing. It's just one of those types of movies that, if I had it my way, just things keep getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse before things get better. And assuming if they do get better. Before anyone asks, yes, Air Force is fully aware of what the principal has been doing. So he's been calculating, strategizing as a countermeasure to all this because he's pretty much wants to be the savior, like the next Jesus, so to speak, kind of character because he wants to help everybody in a violent way. Because, because he wants to take down I guess, the principal character. But the thing is that he has to talk to Kate, quite obviously, because Kate has some issues, quite obviously. So I just want to just finish up with whatever Kate's going on, quite obviously, because of the fact that Kate and Max are already close, at least in my version. I mean, they were already close already. So, but anyway, if I'm to criticize the game even more, so is that again, it's the writing. I mean, some of the writing is good, yes, it is, but some the other parts aren't. But I kind of wish that they could have showed these characters, two characters, as close friends. I mean, I know they're supposed to be close friends. I get that, but I kind of feel like they could show them more of a history together, even though you can already get the general idea they knew each other for quite some time. So I kind of wish that the game itself did that more. So in my version, okay, you could show that more. Show these two characters have history. Maybe they start as friends before becoming lovers, as you should, because one of the most obvious things that people seem to dismiss is that you don't become strangers then lovers. You never do that. That's wrong. I mean, they can be attracted to each other. They can be horny with each other. Granted, of course, and I'm not saying that's not a bad thing. Okay, I mean, yes, given Kate's situation, what happened to her. I mean, this doesn't mean she can't have urges, of course, but you can't just ease on that. Even if they're gonna do anything romantically in that way, if you know what I mean, you kind of ease on it in some ways. If you get intimate with each other. Okay, as if it wasn't obvious enough, these two characters could get intimate, if you know what I mean. Just two could have sex, but the specific, like super specific term is trauma bonding, and that's the actual term, of course. And since us humans are in fact social creatures, this can be a form of social bonding in some respects, I guess. You know, this could be a great way of doing it. What I'm saying is that if they are going to get in bed with each other like that, that's fine. But just I know since we're dealing with very sensitive subject matter, you have to be really careful you can set this up. Yes, of course, consider what happened in the video. This could be considered what happened in the video could be considered sexual assault. I do realize that. So in that regard, if these two become really comfortable enough, what I would suggest is that maybe Kate herself would suggest doing something first. Maybe Max does want to do something with her before that point happened, but she is aware of Kate's condition and whatnot, and has to be, of course, very patient and very compassionate, very delicate. She understands that Kate's depressed, and she doesn't want to change her. If she stays depressed, she will accept her anyway, and help her out and give her emotional support. She does realize that she's not a replacement for a therapist, and she could suggest going to therapy and go together. Of course, like I told, couples therapy, as I mentioned before. And yes, quite obviously, maybe showing that this is quite a good thing for the both of them. Maybe Kate herself can open up from this point forward. I mean, I don't want to dwell too much on this because I know it's an extremely sensitive subject matter, which I know it can be. But if you want to have Max making the first move, maybe Max could ask her, are there any trigger words that she would want to avoid during bedtime? And maybe start slow and whatnot. Is there like a word you don't want to use? Like don't insult her body. Don't use the word like video, fat or ugly. Like what are some words that are gonna be too triggering? Trying to be considerate and how she feels. You can do this a number of different ways, kind of ease into it. Like I said, I don't want to be too much on this really because quite a bit different ways you can do this. But point being, Max is in trouble. She's still in a dark room at this point, and yes, Air Force could be asking Kate quite a few questions. Could be in one of Air Force's hideouts. Maybe he has like maybe five hideouts, and one of which they could be talking because he realizes how important Kate is, and she wants to be in a safe place. And he promises her that he will hunt down anybody responsible for the video. And yes, of course, these can play out the same way like happened in the video game. Yes, of course, she tells us a story where Max actually stood up to her. What happened with the whole thing with I guess a step douchebag when he was a security guard, and it cut some fond memories, kind of like some slow time, led him to the final moment of the story. And yes, quite clearly, they could have an emotional attachment. But yes, bottom line, this could be a moment where Air Force makes a promise he will hunt down anybody and everyone that's responsible for said video and whatnot. That's a way to punish everyone that was responsible for said thing that had occurred. And quite clearly, they eventually investigated and they went to see that character Nathan. Yes, Nathan's still gonna be a part of the story. They found him. Let's say they're hanging out in a park with some friends of his because Nathan is super confident. Yeah, no one's going to ever catch me. No. And quite clearly, he exposed the fact that Mr. Jefferson has kidnapped Max, and there's quite a bit of drugs and those experiment drugs that he wants to use on her. As a kind of some kind of remember in the Flash movie, Supergirl just yelled out, "What did you do?" That's pretty much Kate's reaction when she realized that Max herself has been drugged. And it's kind of like how the tables have turned in some ways. Now it's up to Kate to save Max. And she just gets really angry. And yes, just like how Supergirl just starts popularizing General Zod in that movie, Kate can just try to beat the living hell out of him in that moment as well because of the whole drug thing and whatnot. And because she does not like the fact of what he is doing. Well, that's an understatement. What the Jefferson and of course Nathan has been doing, and yeah, it's found they were the character of Mr. Jefferson has been the culprit of all this when it comes to the drug and the video and all that, and of course they found that out, but of course. And just like how Luke Skywalker in the Return of the Jedi was just wailing on Vader, like he was all pissed off. Again, that's something that she could be doing to Nathan, to be more exact, being to Nathan and whatnot. Just thought I'd just add that there for a quick moment here, folks, quite obviously. And I just thought I'd just say that real quick, of course. Of course, The thing is that Nathan go try to make an escape, but the thing is that Nathan does make an escape here because he's gonna make it to back to his family. And the thing is that Kate herself, she just stops. She does not allow her anger get to her too much. I mean, I guess you can say she technically did allow the anger get too much because of all the stress and how the stress can become some kind of like supernatural thing or some kind of force and whatnot. As I was saying in the previous videos, like stress itself could be its own supernatural thing, some kind of spirit, ghost, of course. Anyway, the thing is that well, Kate does not want to kill nobody. She refuses to kill people. However, quite clearly, Air Force himself is not going to have the same kind of code. He will kill people. He will murder people. He will just go off and just use his guns, which in this little story here, he would definitely use. He would definitely use that kind of a thing. I know it's going to be dramatic, quite clearly, and that's kind of what I want to do and whatnot. So there's that, I reckon. Her
Are you
emotions
okay?
get the
You
better of
look
her
pale.
because she
Kate,
made a promise to Max
did we talk at
to
all
not
today?
let
This is the
anything
first
bad
time.
happen to her,
What's
and this
wrong?
will cool her
I'm
own
sorry, I'm
anger.
just tripping.
Can't allow her
Too
own
much
anger
stress.
get the
I
better
know
of
the
her. Maybe it
feeling.
could be a quick scene later or earlier on with that
I
promise
wish we
made. I guess
didn't.
kind of like a pay
I do have to
call
go,
back, I
but
guess.
we can talk later
But
if you want.
I'll
unfortunately
see how I feel.
for
Thanks,
him,
Max.
Air Force does not have the same code. Nope, he does not have the same code at all. Because the thing is that he will actually kill Nathan when, of course, when she walks away. So okay, Air Force kills him, and that's right before he gets the information where Max is at. She is still stuck in this place for a good chunk of the time, quite clearly, like I was saying a moment ago. And Max is putting up a fight, even in her own way. She's pretty stubborn, even if she's an introvert, quite clearly. And she's realized that no matter how many times she uses her what she calls her rewind power, she keeps coming here. She keeps. I know technically Dave was the one that saves Max, but I'll explain what happens to him later. But anyway, what I'm trying to say that is Max realizes that no matter what she does, she can use her rewind power many times, and she keeps coming here on a multiple times. But yes, eventually, efforts the criminals will not escape efforts whatsoever because Mr. Jefferson, in my version of events, will die. Efforts would just pretty much shoot him to death as much as he could because sexual assault will not be tolerated in any shape or form. And yes, that includes drugging people. Lots of stuff have been done against people's consent, quite clearly. And this would, of course, include the principal. The principal, I mean, yes, the principal will eventually die, but before he gets killed off, he's still going to have his friends, his amigos, I guess you can say. He's still going to have his friends running amok against other students and pretty much just do his bidding for him because he's going to have like this kind of security guards running the place in school. I mean, and if you remember the one episode in the one Star Wars TV show, there was the Jedi getting shot down, and there was even the one bit where the teacher was getting shot at, and then there's this whole crazy scene where the the camera pans upward, and we see a bunch of people, bunch of Jedi fighting against the stormtroopers. Okay, we can apply that. We can apply the scene here where the students are trying to fight off the security guards. Some of them will die, and some of the teachers will die. So if anything, this would just be an utter chaos kind of a thing. Efforts will eventually step in here, and yes, this could be the point where the principal character, as I just showed a moment ago, will just die. Air Force will do his best to save as many students, and he will do his best to save as many teachers as could. Quite clearly, just kill off the criminals because he's not going to show no mercy whatsoever. Just thought that out there to make it more horrifying. Of course, this entire thing is going to be on the impression that it's supposed to be a horror movie, so it's going to be really horrifying with all this going on. So just throw some action. The These two individuals, Chloe and of course Rachel, they're still going to be around quite obvious. They pretty much had to find a secret spot so they won't be hunted down, pretty much. But Air Force helps them out and tells them about the whole tornado thing. It's still going to be this whole thing with the storm is still going to be a thing, unfortunately. So there's nothing to stop there. Better save as many people as they can. If anyone watched the film Columbia, if you remember that scene where she pretty much goes on a one woman army against the people whom she felt had done her wrong, she used all these kinds of weapons, all these guns and whatnot. Okay, I can do the same thing here where Air Force pretty much finds Nathan's family and pretty much kills Nathan there. And yes, if anybody's trying to escape, which some of them will, he will murder them as well. Again, if I have to criticize Life is Strange, the first one anyway, for anything, is that we're supposed to get the sense that Nathan's family is supposed to be this powerful, this influential type of family, which we never really get the sense of that. Not really. Like, we never get the sense of how strong Nathan's family is. Honestly, we never get this. Not really. So in my version of the story, they would definitely pose more of a stronger threat, if you ask me, and just show the, how these people are really wicked and how they really all have. They're supposed to be wealthy, like those tomorrow. They're supposed to be really strong and whatnot. But Air Force comes in and just shoots up the play, like just like how she did, like she did, this individual did in this one movie, using our various guns, well, rocket launchers, you name it. Nobody would survive. How much he would have no mercy on anybody. Nobody's going to survive. Because, like I said, sexual assault would not be tolerated. He would have no mercy whatsoever. And underage or not, it doesn't matter. It is not tolerated in any shape or form. So there's that. They're all done. So since Max is free, he made sure that Max is free quite obviously, and of course make sure all the other students are free as well because of the whole weather thing. Because the whole storm thing is still gonna be a thing, quite clearly and whatnot. And so I know some people might be wondering, well, what about the principal? Well, the principal, yeah, he's still gonna die too because as this entire thing, the tornado, the storm, and what is getting closer and closer towards the school. Yeah, the principal, he's in his office. The principal is in his office, and pretty much the tornado. Yes, you hear me right. The tornado pretty much comes in and just kills him as well. He's in his office. He thought he was going to be safe, but no, he ends up dying because the tornado destroys that portion of the school and whatnot. So we fast forward to the part. We know how the ending goes when it comes to Life is Strange. And this still be his friends instead of becoming lovers or whatever because they already have lovers. It's in this case, in this context, it's out of friendship, of course. And that you gonna love your friend. You can say I love you to a friend in that sense, in that way. And yeah, they're gonna take care of each other because they're gonna sacrifice the town for her, and this means a lot to Glory and Max, of course, and whatnot. I know you're gonna say Rachel's here. Just imagine Rachel being here and Kate too. All four of them already. They all give each other all for each other tight hugs and along with Air Force as well. Along with Air Force as well. He's I guess five people in that case, four women and one dude. As for everyone else, literally every other student, they pretty much fled in that regard because from a safe distance because this is too crazy at this point. But obviously, it's too crazy for everyone else to do. Like I said, it was pretty much more or less in the same way. The ending, pretty clearly, folks, more or less the same kind of way. And yeah, that's pretty much what I would have done, folks. That's pretty much what I've done. And yes, like I said, way in the beginning of the video, yes, I would have included Before the Storm and this game all in one animated movie and just make it really long. Yes, I know that could be like an experimental kind of a thing. I know not everybody might be into that, kind of course. But again, this is something I would have done if I were to do it. But anyway, folks, yeah, I just want to just wrap things up. I know this took me a while to finish, and just a lot of things got in the way. Unfortunately, a lot of things got in the way. But I just want to do this. It's just fun to get it done. Well, finally and whatnot. I don't want anybody to get the impression that I dislike the game. I do like the Life is Strange video games as a whole. Maybe with the exception of Life is Strange 2, because I still thought Life is Strange 2 is the worst one of the entries so far. And hopefully the only bad one I don't like. But just because I like the games does not stop me from criticizing it. Yes, I mean those other things I could talk about, but the most of it is, of course, is the writing. Some of the writing is good. Don't get me wrong. Some some of the writing is actually quite good. Yes, it is, but it does need work. Is what I'm saying. But whatnot. I know. Don't take this the wrong way either. I'm not trying to be holier than thou. I'm not trying to make myself like I'm better than like Stephen King or Shakespeare. I'm not trying to do none of that. Okay, I'm just saying. I'm just trying to do my own take. If I had to do like an animated horror movie based on this would be something like so. There's like an action horror type of thing with maybe it's like a slice of life kind of thing, so to speak, and whatnot. So there's a go, guys. That's something I would done, like something like this. Yes, yes. Before anyone asks, yes, I would still have that one bit where Chloe and Max drive off. I would still keep that in there after the fact that town is all fucked and everything. Sure, we can still keep all that jazz. Okay, I'm not saying to move in any of that. I'm just trying to just have specific details altered. Speaking of which, I would have with an additional detail before they drive off, and it's gonna have more of a uplift ending, more something more happy to make it more happy in some ways. I reckon and whatnot. But with just one additional detail. And yeah, it's another thing to have a more happy ending after all this tragedy that had occurred. Just trying to have more of a happy go lucky kind of a thing. But anyway, that being the final bit of this video, of course, having Max proposing to Kate. And just them, getting all kissy face, of course, and just make it have it really sweet. And yes, she accepts and they get married and all that jazz. Or at least, at the very least, eventually get married, even if it's not right away. So I would have that extra detail thrown in there. And that's it, folks. I just ended with that. But something more sweet and nice and all that. Just something I would have done anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching my long ass videos and whatnot. And take care. Until next time. See you. That's it.